Hello and welcome to this Hearts of Iron 4 tutorial. You may often wonder what division template is the best for your front or for your specific situation. In this video I will explain to you what thought process I think you should follow when designing your division. I think it all starts by looking at the unit stats. There's a Wikipedia page which shows all the statistics of all the land units for every year. I've put that into Excel and analyzed which units are good for their width and for the production cost. I will share that in the next pages. Furthermore, I think you should consider your country's opportunities and limitations. You may not have a lot of manpower or a lot of manpower. You may not have resources and so forth. The next thing you should consider is what the purpose of your division is going to be. Is it just going to guard a port, or actually are you going to use it to bash into the enemy's front lines? When you're looking to add soft attack to your division, the best unit to use when looking at the usage of combat width is the heavy self-propelled artillery. It does a lot of work for the amount of space it takes in your division template. Looking at regular artillery is down here at 11 per width, and heavy self-propelled artillery is really great at doing soft attack damage. However, it's not the best at adding soft attack per production, so it hurts your economy. The best bang for your buck comes from support artillery. It easily knocks all the other units adding soft attack out of the ballpark. But you can only add one support artillery to a division, so as soon as you've done that and you want to add more soft attack to, let's say, an infantry division, adding artillery is the way to go. When adding hard attack, the maximum bang for your buck definitely comes from the regular anti-tank units. They provide the most hard attack per combat width and the most hard attack per production. So they would definitely be your go-to unit when facing a lot of enemy tanks or other hard units. I should definitely mention the anti-air unit. So regular line anti-air is not as great as anti-tank at adding hard attack, but it still gets the job done most of the time. It adds a lot of piercing to your unit, and it also gives you a nice air attack bonus, which is very useful if you're playing in a country which doesn't have a lot of air coverage, such as for instance Poland. If you want to add defense to your division, the go-to unit is definitely regular infantry. It's only topped by mechanized infantry when you do get access to that. Now, do note that 1918 infantry is actually very cost effective at adding defense, and it also has the most HP per cost. So if you actually have the manpower to spare, you can flood your front lines with 1918 infantry. This may be useful for China and Russia, I suppose. Now, one thing that doesn't show on this page is the engineer, and the engineer is definitely a no-brainer. As soon as you have a few units in your division, you want to add an engineer. It's great in terms of manpower usage, great in terms of production cost. They're basically a no-brainer. Do note that also military police are actually pretty cool to add defense. They add way more defense per manpower than regular infantry. So if you're a manpower capped or you don't want to spend the manpower on a particular front, military police is definitely a good addition. Looking at breakthrough, tanks are your go-to guys. It's very easy to see tanks add by far the most breakthrough per width. In terms of costs when adding breakthrough, support artillery is more or less the only unit standing out. The amount of breakthrough you get per production doesn't vary greatly, but but support attack is but support artillery is definitely worth your time. So if you have a division design and you want to add armor to it, the most effective way to do it is by adding medium self-propelled anti-air, both in terms of armor per width and also in terms of armor per production cost. It's just it's a great unit, and especially the 1939 self-propelled anti-air, medium self-propelled anti-air, remains really great for adding armor. It's only surpassed by the 1941 and the upper and later heavy armor. When you're thinking of designing your division template, you want to take into account your own country's strengths and weaknesses. If you have a lot of excess manpower, you can actually add a little more infantry and leave out some of the more expensive units to produce. If you're low on manpower, you should focus on having every body where it counts. So that means creating a few templates and having one for every front. Don't waste manpower on guarding relatively unimportant front lines or your ports, for instance. In terms of resources, if you simply don't have the civilian economy to import resources you don't have, then maybe the best unit, for instance artillery, may not be the best unit to have, and you're better off going for anti-air. When looking at production capacity, if you can easily fill the combat width and the supply usage on your bigger fronts, so that really goes for playing a large nation, then producing more expensive units, so not the best per cost units, but basically just the raw stats, may become useful for you. But until then, I would always advise to go for the most economic option. So when you design your new division, you really need to take into account what it's going to do. What is its purpose? Port guard and garrisons, they just need defensiveness and organization to buy you some time to add some supporting units, or give your Air Force the time to bomb the units down. You don't want to waste manpower in doing so. And you also want to focus your production costs on where you are actually expanding your empire rather than where you're defending it. Most of the time, your garrison units will not be able to fill the combat width, so there's no reason to stick with the 10, 20, 40 combat width rules. You can just have a 24 width or 12 width unit. Whatever gets the job done. When designing frontline infantry, you want to consider what they'll be doing. Are they just there to hold the line, and you will move into your enemy's territory using your armored units? Then they can simply have a lot of defensiveness, a lot of organization, and maybe some support artillery to do a bit of soft damage. And when you're designing an armored unit, they can basically have two main purposes. They're either an impenetrable barrier sitting on a fort somewhere and just have max amounts of armor and be basically impenetrable. But the most widely used purpose of armor is to create breakthroughs and encircle your enemy units. So you want to max the efficiency of that purpose. So I'll move over to the game and show you some example divisions. I'm sharing with you 4 example divisions which I think could be good for a specific situation. If you are, for instance, holding the Atlantic Wall and you just want to guard the ports, you probably have air superiority over the mainland, and you just need the units to buy you some time to either throw in some support units or for your planes to bomb them. So they can consist of as many infantry as you can miss, definitely an engineer, and if you're low on manpower, for instance as Germany, and you want to use your manpower on the Eastern Front, throw in a military police. There's no need to stick to the 20 combat width, and you can have 26 or any combat width you like. In terms of your average infantry unit, just there to hold the front line, I think this one is very useful. It's a 26 width. It just has a lot of infantry adding a large amount of defense, and an engineer company for your defense boost, and some support artillery to actually have a bit of soft attack. It's not a 20 width, I know, but when you are guarding a front, how many units are you actually going to have in every tile? Most of the time, either 2 or 3. So you can easily have a combat width of 26. You can still fit in 3 units, and there's going to be one location where you really concentrate your forces and move out through that space. So I don't think that for defensive units you really need to stick to the 20 or 40 combat width rule. Let's say you have an infantry based country and you are using infantry to move onto your enemy lines, and you want to add soft attack. Well, the best, most economic way to do it is by adding support artillery and regular artillery, while still maintaining a decent amount of organization. Note that this is without any doctrines. For your unit to remain in battle, you're just maxing out soft attack with as many artillery as you can spare. Now, for a decent breakthrough division, I would advise to use your support artillery, best breakthrough for your buck, a recon to give you that edge in speed and recon, as many medium tanks compared to motorized as you can spare in terms of organization. You need enough organization for the unit to actually be breaking through, but any excess organization is a waste. So you want to keep a close eye on how this unit is actually performing in combat, and adjust the amount of motorized and medium tanks you have. Now, in order to really boost the armor, I would add some medium self-propelled anti-air guns. They are the best bang for your buck in terms of adding armor, and this unit will only be penetrated by a really specialized unit, which you will not see that much on the battlefield. So you can easily go behind in tech and still have an impenetrable unit with this division design. So that concludes this video. If you liked it, please let me know. If you have any comments, also let me know. And if you want me to deep dive even further into the Excel data and share it with you, also let me know. I'm more than happy to oblige. See you next time.